for Zoom onboarding. Hello and welcome. I'm Hillary Valentine, and I am so excited you're here today. It's so great to see people tuning in from all over the US. I'm out here in Kailua, Hawaii. It's on the windward side. And yes, we are surfers. That's what brought us out here. My husband's from Indiana. I'm originally from Massachusetts, and we just love Hawaii and are probably never leaving. So you showed up here today to learn about a framework for achieving optimal pelvic health in pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. So I am going to be laying out a framework that has been the culmination of my work over really, I would say the last 14 years as an OT, but more specifically in the last 2 years where I've specialized into becoming more of a women's health and pelvic health specialist. And it's just to make learning about your pelvic health easier and more cohesive and give you a roadmap. So let's dive in. I am going to share my screen. Hopefully I can find where I need to go. Let's see. Right. Here. All right, so as I go through this, please, of course, if you have a question as I'm going through, please pop it in the chat. I will be coming out. I can't see the chat when I'm in with my slides, but I will be popping out as we go to check on if there's any questions. All right, so let's get started. You are in the right place. If you're pregnant and you're worrying about your pelvic health, or you're wondering how you can maintain good pelvic health or achieve better pelvic health through pregnancy and even postpartum, you're postpartum and you're having symptoms, or you're pregnant and having symptoms, because often that's when they first start arising. And you have no idea what to do. Or maybe you're in an area where you've been trying to access services and you haven't been able to. You're in the right place. You're pregnant or postpartum and you feel like you're not getting the pelvic floor information you deserve. I don't think we give women enough education about pelvic health in general. My next endeavor with my business is to be bringing a lot more pelvic health information to girls in high school. I think we should be talking about this far before you become pregnant, but it is a time when we go through becoming a mother that we're starting to think more about our pelvic health. Usually before that, it's not even on your radar, even though it should be. So it's never too late. And if you're a woman and you care about your pelvic health and you want to know what you can do to maintain and attain your optimal pelvic health. So here's what you're going to learn by hanging out today. I'm going to be revealing. Really, this is something I didn't have as concretely formed as I ran Pelvic Health Essentials this past summer. And it became really evident to me that I needed a framework. I needed to make this more cohesive. So I'm going to be revealing that framework, the elements of optimal pelvic health. I'm going to be sharing my top 5 tips for achieving optimal pelvic health. They're habit-based. So they're broad, they're big, but if you have those 5 things in place and really understand them and apply them, you're pretty good on your way to optimal pelvic health. That's a good start, at least. And 7 steps. What are those 7 steps? So we don't just wake up one day and know what to do for our pelvic health. It's a journey, it's a process. And just like anything with health, once you get there, you're not there forever. These factors are always changing. So optimal pelvic health isn't the place you get to and maintain forever. It's knowing what you're working towards, how to adjust and adapt and change. And that's where that framework is so helpful. Right. This training is not for you if you're not interested in a roadmap for achieving your optimal pelvic health. That's what I'm going to be talking about. That's what really ties everything together. If you are someone who has significant pelvic floor problems, I encourage you to stay here and listen. However, this is not going to be the only thing that's going to help you. Generally, you need more higher level services than anything you can get online. You need in-person pelvic floor therapy, you may need specialists. So I don't want you to think that this is a cure-all for any and all pelvic floor problems. If you want someone to fix you, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to give you a roadmap and be a guide along the way, but no one's going to fix you. And if you get upset or offended if I give you 60 minutes of my time, and at the end, I am going to be making an offer. I will also be sending you free content. So I want to be very upfront about that. I'm giving you my framework, but I'm also having an offer at the end. So stay tuned, it's exciting, and hopefully you'll be interested. Okay. So if you stay to the end, I mentioned this while we were waiting to get started, but I am going to send you a free digital download of my Postpartum Mama Self-Care Deck. So this was inspired by a client I worked with for a long time as a postpartum doula. And she was like, I just need something I can refer to each day to find a couple activities or a couple of exercises that I know will be working on my goal of getting back to feeling like myself, or feeling stronger, or feeling more centered in my day. And so it came out of her inspiration. And there's 52, it's like tips and ideas and exercises and resources. It's really chock full of some awesome information. And also there will be a special offer today that's only going to be available to those of you here in the workshop. All right. So what is the story behind this Elements of Optimal Pelvic Health Framework? Well, it really comes from my journey in my own mothering. I now have these two beautiful girls. One will be, my oldest will be turning 5 this weekend, and my youngest will be 3 in December. And my first pregnancy, everything was easy. I had the easiest pregnancy. I had an easy labor. I had an easy postpartum, like everything just clicked. And I was definitely that very arrogant, like, why are moms having so much trouble? Like, I just didn't get it. And everything just bounced back. It was ideal. And I wish that on everyone, but is that reality? Well, number 2 came along and reality hit me hard that my pregnancy was super hard. I did have a wonderful labor and delivery again, but postpartum, holy cannoli. I was leaking urine all the time. I was having pain with sex. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't even know my body. And I worked in a health and wellness clinic, an integrative clinic as an occupational therapist. I worked with physical therapists, and I kept on asking, like, what is going on? Why is this happening? And the PTs were trying to help me and nothing was changing. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't help myself. I went to pelvic floor therapy, and it honestly helped for a little bit. And then I just went right back to where I was and was like, what the heck am I supposed to do? So I had previously been very active. This is me about 2 weeks before giving birth to my second. I was being as active as I could be. I am an avid boogie boarder. I love doing it, and I just couldn't do it. I would try to go out and go under waves. And those of you who have boogie board or live here in Hawaii, you understand waves are pretty big here and powerful. I used to boogie board 6-foot Hawaiian days on North Shore. And obviously I wasn't doing that in postpartum, but I'd be going out at like the wall in Waikiki and I could not get under the waves. My core was destroyed. And I was like, what happened to me? This was after my first birth, and I was just like rocking it with Fit for Mom. Everything was fine. And then this is me in my second birth and just exhausted and wiped out. So I was 36 years old, mama too, and I was leaking urine all the time. I was completely disconnected and frustrated with my body, and I was having pain with sex and postpartum, and nothing was working. I thought I had the tools to bounce back. Like everything went so easy the first time. So I really took matters in my own hand. I was like, you know what? I have the training behind me to become a pelvic floor therapist. I'm going to figure this out on my own because I've gone and it didn't help, and it should. So what's the missing link here? And I became a specialist in it. I have, that's what I do now. So 2.5 years later, I don't leak anymore, feel in tune with my body, enjoy sex. I am an occupational therapist for 14 years. I'm a women's health coach. I've actually done health coaching for years. That's a majority of what I did in that clinic. It wasn't specifically with pregnant and postpartum population. However, now it is, and I more specifically call it matrescence coaching. So matrescence being the becoming of a mother, the process from conception through postpartum, maybe one year postpartum, just that evolution of who you are and everything in your life is matrescence. I'm also got training as a doula. So I thought that might help me as well, and it did. So the areas of specialization I have are health and wellness, chronic pain, something I've worked in for years, pelvic health, and women's health. So on this path, and what I've learned, and this is not just over the last 2.5 years, it is over my time working in health and wellness and working in coaching and working with numerous chronic pain clients and things like that, but amplified over the last couple of years. No one's path is the same. A lot of, at least in my experience, when I reached out for pelvic floor therapy, it seemed very cookie cutter. Like, okay, you're leaking. Okay, do this for this, and you should be better. And I did that for that, and I wasn't better. I was like, what is going on? Truly, no one's path is the same. Nothing can be cookie cutter when it comes to pelvic health. There's so many individual variables. So personalization and a whole body approach is key to any path to wellness, and pelvic health is no exception. In occupational therapy, we look at far more than the physical components. We're looking at emotional components, mental health, spiritual, environment, social, relationships. We're looking at all components and how do they impact your ability to do what you want to do day to day. And when it comes to pelvic health, a lot of that is very basic functions like peeing, pooping, sex, and giving birth. Very, very basic and very connected to quality of life factors. And I've realized too, and when I was working in the clinic, not in pelvic floor, that having a structure to guide the development of a personalized roadmap really helps. The more giving structure, but that it's moldable to each individual person, I would find much greater success instead of being like, okay, just do this for this and you'll be fine. No, it's give them structure, but it needs to be flexible and moldable. When habit integration is achieved, so habit integration is meaning those new behaviors you're developing become part of or routine within your day-to-day activities or week-to-week activities. They're habitual, not having to think about them as much. And what happens with this is you don't use as much energy. It's more effective because you don't have to think about it as hard. And that really ties in with motherhood because all of us are running low on energy reserves. We don't have a lot of time, and we can't be spending hours a day working on our pelvic health. It's just not going to happen. We can't spend hours a day working on any one thing. So the more we can integrate skills and behaviors that support optimal pelvic health into our habits, the more success we're going to have long term, because it doesn't take all that energy that you can run out of and stop doing what you need to do. And I also realized that I did all sorts of stuff. I'm seeing a message. Okay. I didn't heal through any one program or approach. I did many. I took elements from all of them. And it really came down to changing the way I thought about it, the way I was being and responding in my day-to-day. So over the last year, I've become pretty obsessed with finding a way to kind of clarify this and mold this. And I think it's something that you can't just come up over in like overnight. But once you've had the layering of experiences, then it starts to clarify. What are the patterns I'm seeing? And of those patterns, how can we share them with moms so that they can recognize those patterns in themselves and start to take action on their own? And so what I found was like, okay, I have all these things, but they're kind of scattered all over in my brain. And how do I do this? And I was like, you know what, it's a framework. It's like a structure to it. And so I knew the elements, but they were jumbled. And so I organized them and clarified them. And here's what came out is the elements of optimal pelvic health framework. And so here it is. Around the edges are all the elements. There are 8. So many of you may have seen my posts about how doctors are like, oh, just do Kegels, you'll be fine. Well, Kegels isn't even on here. It's within this strength component or element, but it's not worthy of its own element in of itself. And that's where I'm saying that they're missing the mark so much, because we need knowledge, comfort, strength, flexibility, breath, relaxation, postural alignment, relationships, and all of these things have their own skills within them. And then as those skills develop and become more in tune, I'm seeing I have a raised hand. Let me hop out of here and get back to, okay. Yeah, there's some questions. Okay, what's going on here? Can you expand the presentation to full screen? Oh, it's not in full screen. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's do that. Thank you. I see it. People are like, hey. Okay, so you're seeing my, all right, let's try this again. Let me see. Okay, let's get it up to full screen here. Is that full screen now? If it is, someone raise their hand. If I see a raised hand, I'll know it's full screen. Here we go. Now you know what. Okay. All right, we'll keep going. Thank you. Sorry about that. Well, this is an important slide. So here's the elements of optimal pelvic health. So where I was going with my comment was all of these elements have skills and behaviors and knowledge and knowing what is involved within this element. And over time, it starts to integrate into your habits. And that's when you start seeing this optimal pelvic health rise, or being able to get there. Until that happens, it can disappear really quickly. You can get sick, kind of get away from what you were doing. And if you haven't gotten to that habit integration level, it's going to be harder to get back. So habit integration is key to it. But these are the elements that you focus on to get there, and looking at what element am I not doing well on. So I'm going to go over this in more detail. So this then jumps to, okay, we have this framework, but what are the steps of using that framework? Well, first, number 1 is having the framework. 2 is really getting the knowledge. Like, what does each element mean? And what are skills? What are some potential skills that link to that element? So you don't need to know every skill, but you need to know, like, okay, comfort means a skill involved with that is being comfortable talking about my pelvic floor, being able to say my anatomical terms comfortably and knowing where they are and what they do. So there's a comfort in communication that's built also with knowledge from the other side. You need to know what your vulva is, or know what your labia majora is, or know what your pubic symphysis is and where it is. The better you can describe those things, and the more comfortably and confidently, the more medical professionals are going to listen to you, and the likely the better you're going to be able to access the care you need. So number 3 is, okay, now you have some knowledge and you kind of know what a skill in that area might be. So breath, for example, diaphragmatic breathing isn't one skill within the breath element. And you reflect personally on, okay, where do I need to strengthen my skills, strengthen my ability to work on that area? Maybe there's some areas that you're doing really great in. There's other areas where you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that was an element of pelvic health. Then you start to lay out, okay, what is this initial roadmap going to look like? What ones am I going to work on? What are those skills involved with it? You're starting to lay it out, the plan, and then you take action. Step 6, taking informed action, trying it out, starting down that path. What does it look like? How is it helping me? Is this working? Am I having less pain in my pubic symphysis? Am I having less low back pain? My hip flexor is starting to feel better. Am I able to talk about my pelvic health better? And then we got to pause. Let's see here, 6, adjusting, reflecting and adjusting as needed. So sometimes you're going to have success, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're going to have success for a little while, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, this isn't working. This isn't getting where I need to go. Pausing, stepping back, we're adjusting, and then continuing. And over time, you're going to start realizing, like, wow, I'm not even thinking about that anymore. And it's happening. Or I find myself doing things that I didn't do before, but that I know are helping my pelvic health. And so that's where we're achieving that level of habit integration. All right. So I'm going to check. So step 1, the framework. Here it is again. Move on. If at any time you have questions, I'm seeing I can see the chat. So if you have questions or want me to back up or anything, let me know. Okay, step 2 is developing the knowledge and then kind of knowing what some of the skills are. So I love this quote by Eckhart Tolle. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. So if you're not aware, which I tie in with knowledge, you can't even take action to begin to change things. We have to become aware first. So pelvic health is an area where a lot of women lack useful, accurate knowledge. It's an area of our body that we don't talk about socially much at all. And there's a lot of misinformation. And we're really doing women a disservice by not teaching them these things earlier in life. I suggest high school as being a good time to really talk about what is bladder health, what is bowel health, what is sexual health. What does that look like? But it's never too late. So when we lack knowledge, we cannot be aware and we cannot change. There's a basic level of knowledge that must be achieved to bring awareness into the picture. And that's what I'm suggesting with that element is you don't need to be an expert on pelvic health, but you need to have some basic working knowledge of how to describe things, how to identify that something's not normal versus that something is normal. There's a common misperception that like leaking in postpartum is normal. Well, no, it's not. And so do you know that? And then do you have some skills to take action on that? Like, I know, I'm aware that leaking is not normal. What do I do? And that's where I was kind of like, I'm like, well, what do I do about this? I don't even know. And I'm an occupational therapist. How do I not know this? So once you become aware, you can start working on developing the skills. All right, step 3, identify your pelvic health needs. So you have that knowledge and then you're reflecting, okay, based off of now what I know, this new, accurate, more evidence-based knowledge, where are my deficits or where am I missing the mark? And then identifying those, and that helps you get to identifying your pelvic health needs, which will lead you toward that optimal pelvic health. So identification of your pelvic health needs leads to the personalized pelvic health skill development. So what exactly do I need to do? So we have this framework and it's flexible and moldable, and it depends on who you are and what your needs are. It's not just like, do this for this, do Kegels for stress incontinence. No, that is just a cookie cutter approach. And for some people that will work. Some people that simply will not work. It's not going to cut it. So mold it. I've reflected on my needs. I have this framework. Okay. And now what are those skills that need to go forth? I need to go forth with. So here, I'm going to get more specific here. Here are some top 5 pelvic health skills. And if any of you have watched some of my content previously, I am always talking about neutral pelvic alignment. because this is literally one of the most important concepts, and it goes in line with a couple of those elements. So first, what the heck is neutral pelvic alignment? I'm going to show you right now. So on myself, and we're standing out on my pelvic model. I'm going to grab it real quick. So can't be a pelvic floor therapist without a pelvis. So when I'm standing here, I have my sticky outy bones and my pubic bone right here. The pubic bone is under some flesh. So you want to really be pushing down till you feel the harder point. If you're pregnant, this can be, or even postpartum, this can be very sensitive. So, be gentle. But when we're in neutral pelvic alignment, I see there's some hands raised. Do you want to throw, I'm not sure, do you want to throw your question in the chat and I'll take a look in a moment? Okay, so your sticky outy bones and your pubic bone. So they should be in the same plane, but often we're holding posteriorly tilted or anteriorly tilted. So on me, that is, I'm going to touch, one hand is touching my pubic bone, one hand is touching my hip bone. Oh, you can't see me? Oh, where did I go? Okay, I need to come out of share screen. All right, I'm back. Hi. Okay, let me show you. Thank you. Okay, so top of the hip bones, right here. Pubic bone, right? We want them on the same plane like this. Okay. So pubic bone, hip bone. If I am anteriorly tilted, that means I am having this emphasized lumbar curve. My pubic bone is actually going to be behind my hip bone up here. And posteriorly tilted is when you kind of tuck your, sometimes if you have back pain, you might do this. Tuck your butt, kind of stretch out the muscles there. Now my pubic bone, look how far ahead of it is. This is my tendency. Okay, so neutral is when they're in line right here. This is anteriorly tilted, posteriorly tilted, neutral. When we're in neutral, everything, especially bladder is a major component in our bowel, is aligned and the forces are more equal through our pelvic anatomy, but everything moving up as well. So everything's going to be a little happier when we're in this neutral alignment. And being able to, it's not just getting there once, but it's being able to assess it, like when you're moving through your day. I'm sitting, I can be in a neutral pelvic alignment, or I can be out of it. So can I correct it? Can I feel it? Can I find it through different activities? We're meant to swing through it. We're not meant to stay there all the time. That's that flexibility component. Like we don't want to just be stuck there. That's a problem as well. But when we move through it, but we settle back, like you go to pick up something off the floor, when you return to standing, do you come back to neutral alignment? Or do you stay in anterior or posteriorly tilted? And some of it can be tightness restrictions. There can be, you can be overly flexible. There's a lot of reasons that might be challenging, but really tuning into what is it, my personal challenge on staying here? Am I just not aware of where it is and need to practice it? That's the case a lot of the time. Okay. Yeah, anterior tilt is going to give you very tight hip flexor, so it makes it harder. So there's a releasing that flexibility component. It's not just flexibility of your pelvis, the associated and surrounding structures as well. Okay, let me see if I can get back to the slides. Okay. Where'd it go? I'm not seeing it. Hang on. I'm not seeing it. Where'd you go? Come on. Are you seeing this? All right. Hang on a second. Because I'm not seeing my slides now. I don't know where they went off to. We'll re-find them. just have trouble coming in and out of the slide. So bear with me for a moment. I will pull it back up the old-fashioned way. Right. Right here. Okay. Try this again. Okay, let me go in present mode. There we go. Okay. Next one, prescriptive Kegels only. So Kegels, as you probably are aware already, I'm like, they're not for everyone. And I think we should think of them as needing to be very specific based off the person. So the blanket statement by a lot of doctors is like, just do Kegels. Well, no, that's like handing out a prescription. You don't just hand out antibiotics to everyone who shows up in your office saying they have a tickle in their throat. Like, you do it for specific reasons. And the same goes for Kegels, and specific reasons that you should or should not be doing them. And for example, Kegels is strengthening of the specific pelvic floor muscles, but there's also a releasing of that as well. So Kegel can help develop strength, but that is only helpful if you need to develop strength, which many women do not. You're perfectly strong. The problem is you're not able to relax. So prescribing reverse Kegels, the relaxation of the pelvic floor, could be very helpful. But how do you do that? It's not something that can be explained super quick. So prescriptive Kegels, meaning telling a woman to do Kegels and making sure she's doing them correctly in the way that's going to benefit her health. Or telling her, you don't need to do Kegels. You actually need to focus more on the relaxation component of your pelvic floor. And in the framework, so we're talking about kind of the strength component and the relaxation component. Usually women need to work more on one or the other, and it kind of overflows to flexibility as well. And being able to tune in and know, how do you know what you need to do? Well, my first tip is, ideally, you see a pelvic floor therapist who can help you identify, but you can also better tune in to your pelvic floor and recognize, are the Kegels getting me to where I want to go? What is my goal? Where do I want to go? Or is it not helping me? When I do Kegels more regularly, do I actually have more pain or more leaking? I'm getting very specific on what are the responses your body's telling you when you start doing them or stop doing them. So prescriptive. They're not, we can't just blanket, everyone should do 3 sets of 10 a day. No. Okay. Your breath directly impacts your pelvic floor. So we have 3 diaphragms in our body. First diaphragm is our throat. It's how I'm talking right now. It's through the intricate rise and fall of muscles. Okay. Second diaphragm, our breathing diaphragm. And third diaphragm is actually the pelvic floor. There's a basket-shaped muscles in your pelvic floor. And when we breathe, so we inhale, our breathing diaphragm comes down to make room for the air in our lungs. And so should our pelvic floor go down a little bit and relax. We exhale, more active on the breathing diaphragm. It contracts and lifts to help get the air out. And our pelvic floor should rise. So inhale, exhale. And they should be coordinated all the time. Okay. And knowing that coordination, recognizing if you are doing it or not, and that movement of your pelvic floor is not Kegels. You're not purposely contracting. You're getting to a place where you're tuned into your pelvic floor so much that when you attend to it, not all the time, you're not noticing this all day like your arm moving, right? You're aware of this far more easily than your pelvic floor. But when you tune into it, can you say, okay, I just inhaled and I felt my pelvic floor kind of give and relax. I just exhaled and I felt it kind of lift and support. It's that. So there's a direct how we breathe and how we're breathing as we do things can benefit our pelvic floor or can hurt our pelvic floor. So the energetic and spiritual power of the pelvic bowl. So this one may get a little woo-woo for some of you, but really if we think about the pelvis and the pelvic floor, it is where everything starts. It's where creation occurs. It's where so much begins. And as soon as I saw my first client as a pelvic floor therapist and was putting my hands in that area, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of energy there. And it can be good, it can be clear, it can be like magical, or it can be really blocked and really stagnant and really tight and really held in. And it's almost immediately evident. And I found I can give all the exercises, coach on all the breathing, coach on all the posture in the world. But if there are energy blocks, emotional, mental, spiritual blockages, oftentimes there is no improvement in the pelvic health or the symptoms that that person is having. And once we work on this more mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic component, things start to change. And usually there starts to begin to be more exponential change or immediate shifts. Now, I'm not an energy worker. And this is an area of pelvic health that I am diving into through professional training. Because I can't clear those energy blockages. I don't have that power right now or that ability. I don't know those skills, but I'm developing those skills. But I've sent several clients to energy workers, and they come back and like they don't need it anymore. Now, would that have been the case if they had seen those energy workers to begin with? I don't think so. I think it's one part of it, because you need to there's the understanding of how everything works that is so huge, and energy work is not really going to get there. But it is a last step or one of the later steps when things are still not clicking, but you've checked off like every box possible, is to really recognize that there's a lot of energy held in that area. Okay, and keen sensory awareness of your pelvic floor. So this is your own sensory awareness. And I cued into it with the breathing, but I think if women stay disconnected to their pelvic floor and are like, I don't know what I feel, I don't know what that sensation means, or have had that sensation for so long that I just kind of block it out, that's a problem, and usually blocks progress towards achieving their goals of pain-free pelvic floor or whatever the goal might be. Once they become and allow themselves to like open that door to paying attention to it, then things start to shift and change. So I always guide my clients through a lot of different meditations and awareness activities, exercises. Okay. So step 4, laying out your roadmap. So this is like I've tuned in. I know where my deficits are. I know I need to work on this relaxation and this comfort and this postural alignment component. And here are the skills I'm going to work on. So this is that process of really dialing it in. What skills strengthen this element? What behaviors will bring greater balance to this element? And then what habits can I link it with? So with postural alignment, maybe you're just like, I need to start releasing my hip flexors so I can actually stand up tall. So for you in your postural alignment section, you might have hip flexor releases, or you might have, and that might branch over to the relaxation. I need to release the tension from my body so I can stand up taller and have better alignment. And that's how can I integrate that with my habits? well, when I lay down each night, I can do the release of tension through my body. When I'm down on the floor playing, I can do a hip flexor release. When I'm standing brushing my teeth, I can just work on getting into that alignment correctly. And so it's sprinkling it into your daily activities is where you start to see that habit develop more easily. Okay. So then you take action. So you understand the framework, you acquire basic pelvic health knowledge, you identified your pelvic health needs, you've laid out the roadmap to develop the skills and behaviors, and now you go. You start trying it out. So that's a pretty straightforward step. And step 6 is, okay, I've had some great successes. But also, like, some of that stuff is not working. Like, when I get on the floor and play with my kid, I'm not doing hip flexor releases. Like, that's not working. That strategy didn't work. Okay, pull out the roadmap. Maybe you need to reach out. What are some other skills you could do? Or maybe you need to find a different way to incorporate that in. You adjust and continue. And then habit integration. So when your pelvic health is supporting behaviors and skills, become less energy provoking. So when you reach that habit integration, sorry, I just totally got jumbled. It's just within your day, it's within your routines, it's within your rhythms, and it's present, it's easier, it takes less energy. So we don't just arrive at there like, I'm going to make this happen today. It's over time, it's sticking with that process. But when you're there, it's so much easier. It is, if you fall off of that habit, if we think of a habit we all have, like, okay, I always make coffee first thing in the morning. Okay, well, maybe for a week, you're like, okay, no coffee this week. That's hard, right? It's hard not to have the coffee. And then the next week, you're like, okay, I can go back to doing that. Super easy because it was a habit before. So the same thing goes, and how we stack and do our habits can really help that. Yes, water. Okay, so just in review, it's using the framework, the elements of optimal pelvic health framework, developing your knowledge and skills, identifying your personal needs, laying out the roadmap, taking action, reflecting, adjusting, continuing, and then eventually getting to that habit integration component. Okay, so I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you're seeking a better path for what's available. Maybe you're just frustrated. Nothing's working. I just want something different. I want something else. Or maybe you're kind of more aware of like how habits are really essential to our health and how they support it. And you're just like, how do I do that? I just can't figure it out. You're talking about habits this whole 45 minutes, Hillary, but like habits are the hardest thing to figure out. Or of course, maybe you're just bored and want to hang out with me. It's probably not the case. You're busy moms, but never know. So I can't really emphasize it enough. And it's really what worked for me is I took elements from trainings, professional trainings, courses I took, classes I took, personal experience, like what's working, what's not. And I found like, okay, if I intentionally work on it to link it with certain habits I already have, that's when things started to click and change for me. And a lot of it has to do more with the mindset and how we're thinking about it, how we're responding to the challenges that arise each day, how we're responding to our successes that happen each day. So I think if you've been on this call so far, you kind of get that you can achieve optimal pelvic health using this framework for sure. It's not rocket science, but it's just sticking with it and being consistent. And it's something you can get started with right now. So everything I've shared with you today, it's based off science and behavior change. And that's really the foundations of occupational therapy is we support individuals or groups of people in adjusting, shifting, changing their life to support a problem, a disease, an injury, or a way of living better. And what are the activities that link with that? So it's not just fluff. This isn't just like, I'm gonna just pull this out of thin air. This is exactly what I used a lot of my training to figure the puzzle out for myself. I was coming across a lot of programs that were just giving me exercises to do. And I'm like, yeah, this is fine and great if I had 30 minutes 5 times a week to do it, but I don't, and I can't find it. I'm working full time. I have 2 kids. These problems are causing me a great amount of stress and minimal time to do this. And it wasn't until I broke it into pieces and just was consistent with certain behaviors that things started to click. And now I've helped a lot of moms one-on-one get there too. And this was really before I've created this framework. I had all the elements in place, but the framework wasn't there. So they're kind of going along for the ride, being like, okay, this is going to work. Hillary knows what she's doing. And now I'm like, no, I want you to know what you're doing too. Because you knowing what you're doing and you being more empowered that you can impact this change in yourself is really where we need to get to. I'm going to pause for a moment and check the chat. Do squats help with pelvic health? Yes, they absolutely do. In fact, I currently have a caseload of clients that almost all of them are working on improving their glute strength. So oftentimes it is in pregnancy, our glute strength is shut down. Just through the posturing we hold, we kind of shut off our glutes and just don't use them. And so they get weaker, and we're using more accessory muscles for stability. And so, yeah, squats can be helpful. They're usually not my first go-to. I think taking it back a few steps is better. So I hope that answers your question, Ma. So now with that EOPH, so I call it my EOPH framework, success is just easier. It's like, where are you at? What elements do we need to help you with? And how are we going to get you there? It's a lot more of an integrated process. Instead of me just telling my clients now, okay, this is what you need to do. We look at this framework and we're like, okay, what elements are you going to work on? And what are the skills I need to help you with? So it doesn't really matter where you are. If you're pregnant, you're postpartum, your first baby, your 5th baby, it's all about just starting to take this framework, look at it. Where are my deficits? Where do I need to start improving? Where do I need to gain knowledge on what those skills are? And then taking action. What is the smallest thing you can do? So I want you to take a moment. I'm going to pause for a minute and take a deep breath and reflect on, okay, if I were to pick one element, let me go back to, I have to go back a little bit, skip back a few slides and pull up. Here we go. So if you had to pick one of these elements to work on, what would be the one you would start with? I'm like, okay, this week you're going to focus on one element. And I want you to try to pick the element that you think is the best one to work on first. So not necessarily your biggest need. Like you might really need more strength, but you might not be able to even name a single part of your pelvic floor out loud. I would say it does kind of work a little bit top down. It gets jumbled down here, but knowledge and comfort are often the first. So feel free to share in the chat, Masa and knowledge. And then after you identify your element, what is one skill that you think? So if it is knowledge, it might be what element of knowledge? Just knowing common diagnoses, or knowing the structures, or knowing, what do you think the skill is there? In strength, Melissa said strength. What element of strength is it? You feel like I need more core, or I need more coordination in my strength. And I want you to know what, none of you probably feel like you know the answer, and that's okay. It's tuning into like, what do I think I need? And going with that gut. You know yourself better than anyone else. So trust what your body's telling you. and then come out with like, and I think this skill would link and help me develop that element. So I'm seeing breath and flexibility. Awesome. So if you have an idea of what skill you could work on, so if it's breath, is there a certain kind of breathing, or is it just tuning into your breath? I have limited endurance, also have diastasis. I get fatigued easily doing basic activities. So strength, so might be with the diastasis, it's just learning how to engage and hold a good engagement of your core, laying down flat, not moving. Knowledge, knowing what my body needs, strength versus flexibility. Yeah. If you don't have a working level of knowledge, it's hard to get down lower because you're like, I don't even know. and like I said, like if you don't know, you don't know. So often that is where we need to start. Okay, I'm going to go back forward. Thank you for sharing those. Let's see if I even know where I was. My silly picture. Okay. So some of the big benefits of using this framework is, and I've said this several times already, it's customizable. Pelvic health is not cookie cutter. Just like everyone's birth is different, right? All of our experience of health is different. And when we give a cookie cutter approach, it kind of drives me nuts because nothing is cookie cutter. We are so individual with so many different factors that need to be considered. And when you're provided with a framework like this that you can customize, it's going to work better for you than someone being like, do this exercise every day. It's holistic. It takes into that variety of elements, like even down to the relationship level. Relationships have a lot to do with our pelvic health, and especially those intimate relationships or relationship. And they could be past ones and they can be current ones, but feeling supportive, trusting, and safe are really the key factors there. Do I have a relationship? Whether it be intimate or not, maybe you don't currently have an intimate relationship, but do I have a relationship in my life, at least one, that's trusting, supportive, and safe and stable? When those aren't met, it can be hard to really, you can have all the physical things in place, but it goes more to that energy level. It's hard to get all the way there. So you'll become your own health detective. Like you have the knowledge to tune in and be aware. So you start to notice things that possibly even that pelvic floor therapist couldn't tell you because they're not you. You learn how to tune in and find your own path, your own answers. And it's effective. The reason I'm so confident it's effective is because of the habit integration at its core. You don't need to keep returning to it and coming back once you've gotten there. You might need to make adjustments and tweaks, but it's not like this exercise program where like I finished it and then I stopped and then everything disappeared and I have to start over again. You only have to go back like one or two steps. Let me tweak this, or let me progress to this. And then you're stepping back through those last few steps. So you're usually not following it. Like you don't lose the knowledge you gained. You don't lose the framework. So there you go. All right. So the one thing to take away, I truly feel this way. I've literally cracked the code on pelvic health education for moms in order to show any pregnant, postpartum, and beyond women how to achieve optimal pelvic health. It really changed how I assess and guide my own clients. It gives it so much more cohesiveness, and they're so much more involved in a part of the process. It's a framework that can be adapted and changed in countless ways. And you can do it too. So how can you apply the EOPH framework for achieving optimal pelvic health? How are you going to apply it? So I asked you to put step 1, but you have a choice from here. You can do it the slower way of like identifying for yourself and trying it and trial and error and see where you get to, or you can do it more quickly through my Pelvic Health Essentials program. And so here's my offer. The Pelvic Health Essentials is a program that really dives in and gives you all the skills you need. It takes you through guides you and supports you through all the challenges and roadblocks and barriers and successes on that path. So it's my complete step-by-step course for achieving optimal pelvic health. And it's designed to take you by the hands and help you develop that roadmap, test it out, try it out. No missing elements, no confusion. And it really is going to be the quickest way to get there because you have that skilled support every step of the way. So if you're feeling like you're kind of like, whoa, I'm a little bit confused. I feel really anxious about this. This seems a really overwhelming process. I'm definitely going to get super frustrated, to knowledgeable, skillful, empowered in your ability to achieve your optimal pelvic health. I'm not going to fix you. I'm going to guide you on that path you need to go down to get there and support you. So what does it entail? So it's a 6-week self-paced course and live virtual formats. Walks you through all 7 steps. The 7 steps are kind of integrated and the framework's kind of integrated into the whole thing. But every week you receive an education session to your inbox. This might be an hour education session or it might be broken up into a few different videos. And then each week there's a live momentum session. And this is really where the magic happens because you take what you learned and you start to learn how to apply it into skill, into action, that then over time becomes the habits. This is where I also will go just deeper into topics that when moms in the group are having trouble wrapping their head around. I send out weekly exercise and activity videos. This is where you can sharpen your skills and kind of know like, okay, what skills can I work on? I give you templates. You kind of start writing it out. Templates for a pelvic health postpartum plan, template for your entire roadmap, how to analyze it, how to adjust it, all written out. So if you're more someone who really needs to see it and put pen to paper to figure it out in your head, I have that for you. You get 24/7 access. Starting actually, I don't know why this is October. It's definitely just September.